Under the twin suns of Haven 9, Evan lived a quiet life on the edge of the colony. His small house stood beside a line of alien trees that shimmered blue at night. Most days were calm and routine. He fixed machines, fed the livestock, and watched the sky turn gold at dusk. The only unusual thing in his life was his neighbor. She was not human. Her name was Lyra, and she belonged to a rare alien race called the Erie. She had moved into the house next to his about a year ago. At first, everyone in the settlement was curious about her. The Irians were known for their luminous eyes and silver-tinted skin that reflected the light like glass. They spoke softly and avoided conflict, yet people whispered about their strange customs. Lyra kept to herself. She worked during the day, tending to the glowing plants that grew around her home, and only spoke when necessary. Evan respected her space. He was not the kind of man to intrude on another's life. Still, he found her presence oddly calming. Sometimes he would see her standing by the fence, watching the horizon with a thoughtful expression. She would nod politely when their eyes met, but never said more than a few words. One evening, as the air turned cold and the moons rose high, Evan heard something unusual. It was a soft humming sound, like a low song mixed with electricity. The sound seemed to come from Lyra's house. Curious, he stepped outside. From across the field, he saw faint waves of light moving along her roof, colors that shifted from blue to violet, pulsing with rhythm. He frowned, wondering if she was experimenting with some new type of energy device. The next morning, the village was buzzing with gossip. Someone claimed they saw the forest behind Lyra's house glowing in the dark. Another said they heard strange voices carried by the wind. The older colonists warned that this time of year was dangerous. When living near an age, they spoke of something called a cycle, a natural phase in their kind that caused unpredictable energy surges. Evan didn't believe in such tales. To him, Lyra was just another person trying to live peacefully. Still, the curiosity stayed in his mind. As evening fell again, he noticed a light mist forming around her house. The mist sparkled faintly, like dust made of stars. He hesitated, then walked closer, calling out her name. "Lyra, are you all right?" There was no answer at first. Then her door opened slightly, and she appeared. Her eyes were brighter than he had ever seen, pale silver with threads of violet swirling inside. Her skin seemed to give off a faint glow, and her voice was calm but firm. "You should not be here, Evan." He took a cautious step back. "I heard strange sounds last night. I just wanted to make sure everything's okay." "It is not," she said softly. "But it will pass. Please stay away from my home until then." Her tone was not angry, only tired, almost sorrowful. Evan nodded and returned home, though his curiosity grew stronger. As he walked, he noticed something even stranger. The grass near her fence had turned silver overnight. The soil felt warm under his boots, and the air around her property carried a gentle vibration. That night, he couldn't sleep. He looked out his window several times, watching the lights rise and fade. It was beautiful but unnatural, like the world around her was breathing differently. He thought about what she had said. What could possibly be happening that made her warn him away? The next morning, Evan decided to visit the colony's local engineer, a man named Cole, who had studied alien biology. When Evan described what he had seen, Cole grew serious. "If she's a Yan, then it's possible she's entering her resonance cycle. Some people call it their mating season, but it's more complicated than that. Their energy connects with the planet itself, and if something goes wrong, it can affect everything around them." "Everything," Evan repeated, surprised. Cole nodded. "Machines, crops, even the weather. It's rare, but if she's struggling to control it, we could be in trouble." Evan looked out the window toward the shimmering forest. She didn't seem dangerous, just scared. Cole sighed. "Fear doesn't stop energy, my friend. If the resonance grows too strong, it could spread. You should keep your distance." But Evan couldn't ignore it. That evening, the humming returned, louder now, echoing through the valley. Sparks of blue light flickered above the trees, and he could feel a faint pressure behind his eyes, like static in the air. He saw birds flying away from the woods, their calls sharp and panicked. Then he noticed something that made his heart race. His tools on the porch began to shake, metal clinking softly. The magnetic field was changing. Whatever was happening at Lyra's house was powerful enough to distort the local gravity sensors. Unable to resist, Evan stepped outside once more. Lyra was standing near her door, both hands raised toward the sky. The light around her seemed alive, swirling like liquid flame. For a moment, she looked less like a neighbor and more like some ancient being from the stars. When she noticed him, her expression turned to worry. "Go back inside," she shouted, her voice carrying across the field. "It's not safe here." Evan froze, torn between fear and concern. The air rippled between them like heat waves. He wanted to help her to understand what was happening, but his body refused to move. The hum deepened, a sound that seemed to come from the ground itself. Then, as suddenly as it began, the light faded. The night grew silent. Lyra collapsed to her knees, breathing hard. Evan wanted to run to her, but she raised a trembling hand and shook her head. "Please," she whispered, "do not come closer. It has begun." Evan stood there in the cold air, unsure what she meant. But deep inside, he felt it too. A strange pulse beneath his skin, faint but real. Something had changed between them. Something he couldn't yet explain. And though he didn't know it, that night was only the beginning of a chain of events that would shake the entire colony and reveal how dangerous and extraordinary his alien neighbor truly was. The next morning, Haven 9 was not the same. The air felt thicker, like invisible energy hung between every breath. Evan woke early and went outside, trying to shake off the uneasy feeling that had settled in his chest since last night. The soil near Lyra's home shimmered faintly, as though tiny motes of light were trapped beneath the surface. Birds avoided the area completely. Even his tools on the workbench were acting strange. A screwdriver floated an inch off the table for a few seconds, before falling again. He rubbed his temples and muttered, "This isn't normal." Across the field, Lyra's door stayed closed. Her windows glowed dimly from within, but no sound came from the house. Evan thought about Cole's warning about resonance and energy cycles. It sounded unbelievable, but everything around him seemed to prove it true. By midday, the Colony Council had sent 2 guards to investigate the strange readings on their instruments. Machines across Haven 9 were failing, drones falling from the sky, tractors stalling midfield, even the power grid flickering. The guards reached Lyra's property, but didn't go far. When one of them touched the fence, a spark leapt out and sent him stumbling back. The other cursed under his breath and called it in, saying the area was unsafe. Evan watched from a distance. He knew Lyra would not harm anyone on purpose. Something was happening to her that she couldn't control. That evening, as the suns dipped below the hills, he decided to bring her some water and supplies. It was a simple act, but maybe it would show her that she wasn't alone. He carried a small crate to her porch and knocked on the door. The sound echoed strangely, as if the air absorbed it. After a moment, the door slid open a few inches and Lyra appeared. Her eyes glowed brighter than before, silver mixed with streaks of pale blue. "Evan," she said quietly, her voice heavy with exhaustion. "You shouldn't be here. I brought food and water," A sighed softly, "and maybe you could tell me what's happening." "The colony is panicking." She looked at him for a long moment, then opened the door slightly wider. "Come in for a moment, but do not touch anything." Inside, the air shimmered faintly like thin heat waves bending light. Strange geometric patterns glowed along the walls, pulsing in rhythm with her breathing. The furniture seemed to vibrate gently, as though reacting to her energy. Evan placed the crate down carefully and took a step back. Lyra closed her eyes for a moment, steadying herself. "You remember what they call our mating season?" "Yes." He nodded. "The cycle." "It is not what they think," she said. "Our kind connects to living worlds through resonance. We share energy with the planet, keeping balance between nature and technology. Every few years, that bond renews itself. It is beautiful, but also dangerous if disturbed." Evan frowned. "Disturbed by what?" "By fear," she said softly. "Or by artificial fields. This planet's core is unstable. When my season began, the planet's magnetic lines pulled at me too strongly. The balance broke and now my energy is leaking into the environment. It affects everything, plants, animals, even machines." He remembered the floating screwdriver, the glowing soil. It all made sense now. Can you stop it? Lyra looked down. If I cannot control it soon, the resonance may spread. The energy could destroy the colony systems. Your people might think it's an attack. Her words sent a chill through him. Then let me help. I'll tell the council you need time, not punishment. She smiled faintly, a sad kind of gratitude in her eyes. They will not listen. They fear what they do not understand. Until this time the connection has become unstable in another way. Evan tilted his head. What do you mean? She hesitated, her expression tense. When you came close last night, the resonance recognized you. It reached for your life force. I felt it happen, but I could not stop it. A part of my energy linked to yours. He blinked, confused. Linked to me? Like, what does that mean? You and I are connected now, she said. If the cycle grows stronger, the energy may flow through you as well. You could begin to feel what I feel. Evan stepped back slightly. That's impossible. She shook her head. Already your body is showing signs. You felt the pulse last night, did you not? He remembered it, the strange heartbeat beneath his skin. He nodded slowly. Yes, but I thought it was just fear. Lra's eyes dimmed with concern. It was not fear, it was resonance. If I lose control, the feedback could harm you. Outside, thunder rolled across the valley. The lights in her house flickered as the walls pulsed with blue energy. Evan felt a faint vibration under his feet. Then we need to fix it before it gets worse. Lyra turned toward the glowing wall patterns. Her voice low. I am trying. But the energy feeds on connection. The closer you are to me, the stronger it becomes. So, what do you want me to do? Leave you alone while you suffer? Evan asked, his tone quiet but firm. She looked at him with something like respect. You have a brave heart, human. But courage will not protect you from resonance. Promise me you'll keep your distance. Evan wanted to argue, but the pain in her eyes silenced him. He nodded reluctantly. All right, I'll stay back for now. She gave him a faint smile. Thank you. He left her house and returned to his own, but the connection she spoke of was already growing. That night, he dreamed of strange places, oceans of light, mountains that sang, and skies filled with silver clouds. He could feel Lyra's presence in those dreams, her heartbeat echoing in time with his own. When he woke, the colony alarm was sounding. Machines across the settlement had gone offline. The crops near the eastern fields had grown 2 meters overnight. Something big was happening. Evan ran outside, heart pounding. The horizon glowed faintly blue, centered around Lyra's house. The resonance had spread. He could feel it in his bones now, a deep living pulse that tied him to her. He whispered to himself, we're connected. All right. But at what cost? A woman in the crowd shouted, she's doing it on purpose. She's one of them. She's not attacking us, Evan said, stepping forward. She told me her body is reacting to the planet's magnetic field. She can't control it. Vance looked at him coldly. Then she's a threat. We can't risk the colony for one alien. If this resonance spreads, we all die. The words stung. Evan wanted to argue more, but before he could speak, the ground shuddered again. The lights flickered, and a wave of blue energy rolled over the colony like a silent storm. Everyone gasped as their devices sparked and shut down. When the light faded, a heavy silence filled the air. Vance turned to the guards. Quarantine her property. No one goes near her house. If she refuses to cooperate, we'll call for off-world containment. Evan's stomach turned cold. He knew what off-world containment meant. A military team would arrive and destroy anything considered dangerous. Lyra wouldn't survive that. As Nigel Evan decided to go to her, despite the order. The air between their homes shimmered faintly, and his body reacted again, his pulse sinking to a rhythm that wasn't his own. Each step closer made his skin tingle with warmth as if invisible waves of energy passed through him. When he reached her porch, the door opened on its own. Lyra stood there, pale and shaking, her luminous eyes dimmed, her breathing uneven. You shouldn't have come, she said weakly. I couldn't stay away, he replied. They're planning to isolate you. I had to warn you. Her hands trembled. It doesn't matter. The connection is growing stronger. I can feel your heartbeat even when you're far away. The cycle isn't ending. It's spreading. He stepped closer, ignoring the buzzing in his ears. Then tell me what to do. How can I help? Lyra turned her gaze to the window. Outside, streaks of light were dancing through the forest, moving like living rivers. You're already helping? She whispered. The resonance chose you. It reached for the nearest compatible life form. A mind strong enough to stabilize it. That's why you're seeing what I see. That's why your dreams are no longer your own. Evan frowned. But it's hurting you, isn't it? She nodded. It's tearing me apart inside. The cycle was never meant to happen on this world. The magnetic lines here twist and pull differently. My energy is being drawn out faster than my body can recover. If it continues, the bond between us could collapse in black, and both of us will die. Evan felt the floor pulse beneath them, matching his heartbeat. Then we'll find a way to stop it, he said. You don't have to face this alone. Lyra's expression, soft, touched by his determination. You speak like a human who has never known fear. I've known plenty, he said quietly, but fear doesn't fix anything. People do. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then the lights on the wall flickered violently, and a wave of energy burst through the house. Glass shattered, and a low hum filled the air. Evan covered his face as the vibration passed through him. When it stopped, the room was glowing faintly, and Lyra was kneeling on the floor, clutching her chest. Lyra, he ran to her side, so looked up, tears of light forming in her eyes. It's spreading beyond me now. The resonance has reached the forest. If it connects to the planet's core, the whole colony will be affected. Evan helped her stand. Then we stop it, at the source. Where does it start? She pointed weakly toward the woods. The heart of the energy lies beneath the old ridge, where the ground hums at night. My body is trying to connect to it to stabilize the imbalance, but if we fail to realign it soon, it will consume everything in its reach. Evan made up his mind. Then I'm going with you. You'll die if you come closer, she said. Maybe, he answered. But, if I stay away, Evergine DS, I'll take my chances. Lyra looked at him, her silver eyes reflecting his face like a mirror. Humans, she whispered, you never stop surprising me. They left the house together, walking into the glowing night. The trees around them swayed without wind, their leaves emitting faint blue sparks. The ground vibrated like a living drum, and the deeper they went, the stronger the rhythm became. Evan felt his heartbeat matching the pulse of the world itself. When they reached the ridge, a deep crack split the earth ahead. Glowing like molten glass, energy poured from it in waves, lighting the forest floor. Lyra staggered, nearly falling, but Evan caught her arm. The contact sent a shock through both of them, a current that joined their energy for a brief instant. She gasped, eyes wide. You're stabilizing it, she said. Your mind is slowing the surge. Evan tightened his grip. Then tell me what to do. We'll end this together. Lyra stared into the glowing chasm, her voice trembling. Together, yes, but it will test both our limits. If we fail, the resonance will not stop. It will spread through the entire planet. Evan nodded slowly, his jaw set. Then, we can't fail. Above them, the sky darkened and the hum deepened into a roar. The energy of the world was waking up, and both of them stood on the edge of something far greater than they could imagine. The cycle had begun to take its true form, and neither human nor alien could escape what came next. The forest around the ridge pulsed like it was alive. The glow from the crack in the ground painted the trees in shades of blue and white, making them look ghostly and unreal. Evan could feel every heartbeat echoing through the soil, matching his own. The sound was steady at first, then quickened as if the planet itself was breathing faster. Beside him, Lyra swayed weakly, her silver skin flickering between light and shadow. She whispered, "It's close. The core is under us." Evan looked at the wide fracture in the earth. The energy flowing from it shimmered like liquid lightning. Heat rolled off it, but it wasn't the kind that burned. It tingled across his skin, almost like it was trying to reach inside him. He could feel the connection between them tightening. Every time Lyra breathed, his chest moved in rhythm without his control. He swallowed hard. "You said it's unstable because of this planet. Can we fix it?" Lyra nodded weakly. "Maybe. If we can realign the energy field around the core, it might stabilize the resonance. But she hesitated, her glowing eyes flickering. It needs two life forces to balance the polarity. The cycle already linked us. You're part of this now. Evan took a deep breath. Then tell me what to do. She turned to him slowly. You'll have to enter the resonance with me. It will feel like drowning in light. You must stay calm. If your mind breaks, the feedback could destroy both of us. Evan stared at her. No, pressure. Then, despite everything, a faint smile crossed her face. Humor even now. They knelt beside the glowing crack. The ground pulsed beneath them, sending small waves of light through their bodies. Lita placed her hands on the soil and closed her eyes. Evan did the same, following her lead. Immediately, he felt a rush of warmth flood his body. The light from the chasm spread outward, circling them in glowing rings. This is the resonance, she said. Her voice was calm, but distant, like it came from every direction at once. Our energies are merged. Together, we can guide the flow. How? He asked. Through balance. You must ground it while I redirect it. The light swirled around them faster. Evan felt the energy pressy sing against his mind, testing his strength. He focused on breathing, on staying calm. Like Siside, slowly, he imagined the light as a river and himself as a dam, guiding it, not blocking it. The chaotic pulses began to steady. Lyra's expression softened. You're doing it. The ground trembled again, and for a moment, everything brightened to pure white. Evan shouted, blinded by the flash. When his vision returned, the energy had changed. It no longer pulsed wildly, but flowed smoothly, like the planet was exhaling in relief. Lyra fell forward, exhausted, and Evan caught her before she hit the ground. Her skin was cold, and the glow around her dimmed. Lyra, stay with me, he said, shaking her shoulder gently. She opened her eyes slowly. It's working, but it's not enough. The connection to the core is deeper than I thought. I need to enter it completely to merge with it. Evan's heart pounded. That sounds like suicide. It's the only way to save the planet, she whispered. If I fail, the energy will consume everything within 100 miles. But if I succeed, the resonance will end and your people will live. He shook his head. No, I'm not letting you face that alone. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly again. Evan, you've already given me more strength than I ever thought possible. But this is my burden. Then it's mine, too, he said firmly. We're connected, remember. You said it yourself. She stared at him, silent for a long time. Finally, she placed her hand over his chest, where his heart glowed faintly from the bond. Then we go together. The light between them flared again, wrapping them in a sphere of energy. The world vanished in a flood of white. Evan couldn't see, couldn't hear, but he could feel everything. Lyra's heartbeat, the planet's pulse, even the flow of the magnetic fields deep below. They moved as one, their thoughts merging until there was no barrier between them. The core appeared before them, a massive orb of swirling blue and gold light suspended in a dark void. It was beautiful and terrifying, like staring into a living star. Lyra reached out her hand. We must align it. Focus your thoughts on calm, on life. Evan followed her lead, forcing himself to think of home. The quiet mornings, the laughter of children in the colony, the simple joy of being alive. The light responded, shifting colors softening. Lyra added her own memories, her people's songs, her planet's beauty. Together, they built harmony within the chaos, but the strain was unbearable. Evan felt his body weaken, his heartbeat slowing. Lyra sensed it and turned to him, fear in her eyes. You're fading, he smiled weakly. Keep going. Finish it. She reached for him, tears of light forming. No, I won't lose another world, or another soul. The core pulsed violently, shaking the space around them. Lyra let out a cry and released a final surge of energy, merging completely with the light. Evan tried to hold on, but everything went white again. Then silence. The hum stopped. The forest grew still. The sky cleared. The resonance was gone. Evan collapsed beside the ridge, unconscious as faint blue dust fell around him like snow. Lyra was nowhere to be seen. Only a soft glow lingered where she had stood. The last trace of her energy. The planet was calm again. But something deep within him told him that this was not the end, that somewhere, somehow, Lyra was still out there, watching over him through the bond they had created. The night after the resonant storm ended, Haven 9 was silent for the first time in weeks. The constant hum in the air was gone. The trees no longer glowed, and the winds moved softly again. It was as if the planet had taken a deep breath and finally calmed down. But in the middle of that peace, Evan woke up alone on the ridge, lying on the cool ground. His head pounded, his body weak and his vision blurred. The faint blue light that had surrounded him earlier was fading into the earth. He called out weakly, "Lyra." There was no answer, only the rustling of leaves in the quiet forest. He looked around, searching for her, but she was gone. The space where she had stood was now just soft soil and faint dust sparkling in the moonlight. He tried to stand, but his legs shook. A dull pain ran through his chest, a deep rhythmic ache that pulsed in time with his heart. He touched his chest and froze. His veins glowed faintly beneath his skin just for a moment, before fading again. It wasn't bright, just a soft blue shimmer that moved with his pulse. He didn't understand what it meant, but somehow he knew. She had given part of herself to keep him alive. Evan stumbled back to the colony at dawn. The suns rose slowly, painting the horizon gold. And for the first time since everything began, the sky looked normal. As he approached the main street, people gathered around him in shock. "It's him," someone shouted. "He's alive!" The council rushed to meet him. Vance, the same man who wanted to isolate Lyra, looked pale and uneasy. "What happened out there, Evan?" The scanner showed that the energy readings dropped to 0 right after the storm. "Did you stop it?" Evan looked past him, his face tired and hollow. "Lyra stopped it," he said quietly. "She gave everything she had to stabilize the core." There was silence. People exchanged uneasy glances. A woman from the crowd asked softly, "Where is she now?" Evan shook his head. "Gone." The crowd grew still. Some looked relieved. "Oter skilti." A few whispered that it was for the best. But Evan didn't stay to listen. He walked past them, ignoring the questions and the stares. He needed rest and answers. In the following days, the colony returned to its routine. Power systems were repaired, crops normalized, and the forest stopped glowing. The crisis seemed over, but for Evan, the peace felt empty. He could still feel her presence sometimes, faint like a whisper in his mind. When he closed his eyes, he could sense a soft pulse somewhere far away, a rhythm that matched his own heartbeat. At night, strange dreams returned. He saw a vast sea of stars, and in the center of it a shape of light, gentle, familiar. She was there, but not like before. Her body was gone, yet her essence shimmered, drifting through the darkness. She seemed to reach toward him, her eyes filled with calm. "Evan." Her voice echoed softly in his mind. "Do not mourn me. My energy still exists. I am part of this world now, and part of you." He woke up with tears in his eyes. It didn't feel like a dream. It felt real. The next morning, he went back to the ridge. The crack in the ground had sealed itself. The soil was warm, and small blue flowers had begun to grow there. Flowers that didn't exist anywhere else on the planet. They glowed faintly at night, just like Lyra's eyes once did. Evan knelt beside them, touching one gently. "You really are still here," he whispered. Days turned into weeks. The colony thrived again. The council even began to reconsider their old fears about alien settlers. Vance approached Evan one evening and said, "You were right about her. We misjudged her. She saved us." Evan didn't respond. He just looked toward the glowing ridge and said quietly, "She saved everyone." He started spending more time studying the strange flowers that grew there. When he brought a few samples to the lab, the scanners couldn't identify them. They emitted a soft, stable energy field, the same type of frequency that once caused chaos. Only now, it was calm, pure, and perfectly balanced. The planet's readings had become more stable than ever. Haven 9's weather, soil, and atmosphere all improved. It was as if Lyra's energy had merged with the world itself, healing what was broken. But the connection between Evan and Lyra wasn't gone. Every now and then, when a storm approached or when he touched metal, his veins would glow faintly again just for a heartbeat. Sometimes, he could hear a whisper, not in words, but in feeling, as if she was reminding him that he wasn't alone. One night, as rain softly fell across the colony, Evan sat on his porch looking up at the stars. He noticed something unusual, a faint silver light moving across the sky, steady and slow, not like any ship he knew. It pulsed 3 times. Ten baniset. He smiled faintly. I see you, Lyra. The next morning, he went to the ridge again. The flowers swayed gently in the wind. He planted a small metal plaque in the soil. It read, "For Lyra of Aria, who brought peace to Haven 9." As he stood there, the wind carried a soft, familiar hum, a sound like the one he first heard months ago. It faded quickly, but it left behind a feeling of warmth in his chest. Evan turned to leave, but before he walked away, he looked back one last time. The flowers around the plaque garnished where Lyra's energy had become one with the world. One afternoon, Evan sat at his small workbench, repairing a power regulator when the lights flickered for a second. It wasn't like before, no danger, no hum, just a brief spark. But something about it felt different. He placed his hand on the metal casing and froze. A faint vibration ran through it, familiar and comforting. It was the same frequency he had once felt from Lyra. He whispered, "Lyra." There was no voice, but the hum responded softly like a heartbeat in the metal. He smiled sadly, unsure if he was imagining it or if her presence truly lingered. That night, he couldn't sleep. He walked out to the ridge under the twin moons carrying a small lantern. The glowing blue flowers still bloomed there, lighting the dark ground. He sat near them, listening to the wind. After a few minutes, the air around him shifted, not violently, but gently. A wave of warmth passed through his body, and the flowers brightened. Evan felt something touch his mind, like a whisper behind his thoughts. It wasn't a sound, yet it was clear. Evan. He caught his breath. Lyra. The voice was soft like the wind through glass. Part of me remained here with you. He looked around, but there was no one. Only the glowing flowers in the quiet forest. You're alive in a way, she said. When I merged with the core, my physical form ended. But my essence, my consciousness, it became energy. The planet carries it now. I can see through the currents, through the roots, and the rivers. I am everywhere, yet nowhere. Evan felt tears rise in his eyes. You shouldn't have had to sacrifice yourself. We could have found another way. There was no other way, her voice said gently. But don't mourn me. I am not gone. You helped me see what life truly means, and to care, to protect, to choose others over fear. That is something even my people forgot long ago. Evan sat there silently, letting the tears fall. The blue light from the flowers reflected in his eyes. I wish I could see you again, he whispered. For a moment, the lights shimmered brighter and a faint shape appeared in the air, fragile, made of silver mist. It looked like Lyra, her outline glowing softly. She smiled, her expression calm and warm. You are seeing me, she said, but not as before. This is how I exist now. He reached out instinctively, but his hand passed through her image. The air felt warm like sunlight on skin. Your world is safe now, she continued, but it is still fragile. Others will come. Explorers, miners, traders. They will see the energy of Haven 9 and try to take it. You must protect it, Evan. You must protect what we created. He nodded slowly. Then I'll stay here. I'll watch over this place. I owe you that much. Lyra's image flickered softly. No, you owe me nothing. You already gave more than anyone else ever did. But if you choose to stay, then stay for yourself. Not for me. The wind rustled through the trees. The faint shimmer around her began to fade. Wait, Evan called out. Will I ever see you again? Her voice grew fainter, like a song fading into the distance. Every time the wind hums, every time light touches metal, I am there. Listen, and you'll find me. Then, she was gone. The flowers dimmed back to their usual glow, and the air turned still again. Evan sat there for a long time, staring at the ridge. The silence was deep, but it no longer felt empty. It felt peaceful. Days passed after that night, but something inside him had changed. The strange pulse in his chest grew steadier, and his body began reacting differently to the environment. Machines near him would sometimes hum to life without power, and crops he touched grew faster and stronger. The scientists tested him and found that he emitted a faint energy field, the same resonance frequency that Lyra once had. When they asked him what caused it, he only said, "It's a gift." The council eventually recognized the ridge as a protected zone. They called it Lyra's heart, and no one was allowed to disturb it. Pilgrims came from other colonies to see the glowing flowers, believing the place was sacred. Evan never tried to correct them. Maybe they were right. One evening, months later, the colony's radio detected a faint signal from orbit. It wasn't human. It carried fragments of a melody. Not words, just tones. When Evan heard it, his heart skipped. It was the same pattern he once heard from Lyra's home Christo. The same harmony she used to hum under her breath. The others called it background interference. But Evan knew better. He stepped outside, looking at the resonance bond. To Evan, it was something else, a reminder that a part of Lyra still lived within him. Every morning, he walked to the ridge. The glowing flowers still covered the ground, spreading farther each year. They never wilted no matter the season. The people called them Lyra's tears, believing they were gifts from her spirit. Evan tended them quietly, trimming the weeds and keeping the soil clean. It was his way of keeping her memory alive. One day, while working on a drone near the colony's border, Evan noticed a ship entering the sky. It wasn't human. The design was smooth and organic, shaped like flowing metal. His heart quickened. He recognized the patterns etched along its surface. Aryan symbols. The colony tower began broadcasting alerts. Unidentified vessel approaching. Non-hostile signature detect. Evan stood still, eyes locked on the descending ship. It landed gracefully beyond the ridge, sending a soft wave of air across the field. When the dust cleared, he saw a small group of tall silver-kind beings stepping out. Their eyes shimmered with the same light Lyra once had. The colonists gathered nervously, watching from a distance. Evan walked forward alone, his heart pounded, not with fear, but with something deeper. Hope. The leader of the Aeon group approached him. Her voice was calm, melodic. "You are Evan Holt of Haven 9, she said. "We have come because of you, and because of her." He swallowed. Lyra, the alien woman, nodded slowly. "Yes, we felt her resonance across the stars. It called to us for many years, but we could not trace it. Only recently did our instruments find this world. We sensed her energy here, intertwined with yours." Evan looked toward the ridge, where the blue flowers swayed. "She saved this planet. She gave everything." The Irian's expression soft. "She always carried the heart of a healer. Our world mourned her loss long ago. But now we see she lives on and through this land. And through you." Evan didn't know what to say. He had dreamed of hearing those words, but now that they were real, they filled him with both joy and sorrow. Another Ayan stepped forward, younger looking, with eyes brighter than the rest. "The energy here is pure," he said. "She completed what our people could not. She restored balance between life and the planet's core. This world is now part of the Illyrian network of harmony. Her spirit will never fade." Evan nodded slowly. "She's still here. I can feel her every day." The leader tilted her head. "You are linked to her essence. That connection may never fade. We wish to study the bond and to learn from it and perhaps carry her memory home." Evan looked at them carefully. "If you want to study, then you must promise one thing. You must not harm this planet. She gave her life to protect it. I won't let anyone undo that." The leader placed her hand over her heart and bowed slightly. "You have our word, human. We honor her sacrifice." The Irians set up instruments near the ridge, but worked quietly and respectfully. They examined the glowing flowers and took readings of the energy field that surrounded the area. The colony watched from a distance, curious but cautious. That night, Evan stayed at the ridge. The Irians had left their devices running, but the area was silent except for the wind. As he sat near the flowers, the air shimmered again, faint light dancing across the petals. A familiar warmth filled his chest. "Evan," he closed his eyes. "I knew you'd come." Her voice was soft, gentle, as ever. "They found you, didn't they?" "Yes," he said quietly. "Your people came. They know what you did. They know you saved us. A faint laughter echoed in his mind. Then my journey was not in vain. I am glad, he smiled faintly. They want to take your memory home. I told them they could, but only if they protect what you built. That is good, she said. Our worlds are connected now, yours and mine. You have done more than you realize, Evan. You changed how my people see yours. He looked toward the glowing horizon. And you changed how I see everything. The voice was quiet for a while. Then, she said softly, you have lived long, haven't you? He nodded. Longer than most. That is the bond, she whispered. Part of my life flows through you. When your time comes to rest, that energy will return to me. We will meet again in the resonance, not as light and shadow, but as equal. Evan felt his heart tighten. Then, I'll wait for that day. The wind grew gentle, carrying the faint hum of her presence. Goodbye for now, my human friend, she said. You kept your promise. Her presence faded, leaving only the sound of the breeze and the shimmer of the flowers. Evan stayed there until dawn, watching the first light of morning touch the ridge. Years later, when his hair turned white and his steps grew slow, he was still known as the guardian of Lyra's heart. The Irians returned often, tending to the sacred ground beside him. When he finally passed away, they buried him among the glowing flowers beneath the plaque he had once placed for her. And on that night, the sky above Haven 9 glowed brighter than ever. The colonists who looked up saw two lights moving together across the stars, one blue, one gold, circling each other in endless harmony. They said it was Lyra and Evan, reunited at last. And somewhere beyond the worlds, within the quiet home of the universe, two hearts beat again as one, the human and the alien, forever bound by light, peace, and the story that had begun with a simple neighbor's door.